on this panel is Major Moves, unleashing the power in discovering, developing, and marketing you as an artist. Let's get it. Ivy and Azim, they ready for you? Hey, hey.
Y'all feeling that right there? Any Drizzy fans in the building? Just keep that going.
Where's my sound?
There you go.
My sound. Chuck T. What's up, Charlotte? I came all the way from New York City. You might hear me on the radio at Power 105.1 or somewhere on Apple Music. I'm super excited. Shout out to Benny for having me in the building. Where's my? Come on here. Come on.
What's happening?
I'm just trying to, set the energy, get the frequency right. You know what I'm saying? Y'all been getting these gems. I know it's been a long day. Your brain is probably on overdrive, but I promise this is a panel that you want to pay attention to because we have the most elite executives about to have a seat with us. Should we just introduce them and bring them out?
You weren't, yesterday you saw what happened last night, right?
Yeah.
It's your time. We're like 24 hours away from giving somebody $10,000.
Listen, that's a big bag.
Y'all happy about that? Yeah. Yo, the guys have already, the young ladies and the men have already been put into the finals. You here? You ready? We got
raise your hand if you're in the finals.
In the finals, you here?
That's hold on. I only see two hands.
Is that classic?
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. It's the light, y'all. I see. So boom. I could say this is literally two hands that I could count who are in the finals, right? Which means that your chances are greater to get in this bag. So I hope that you're focused. I hope that you deliver and execute, know who you are, stay in your greatness. You feel me?
Absolutely. So listen, with no further ado, we want to get you guys ready for a week. Things are going to be, this is the powerhouse panel. Like, if you want to be in and around the music business, it gets no better than the three people we're about to bring on stage. You have wisdom. You have actual real-life experience. We got songwriters. We got executives. We got people who sign artists, who market artists. So if this is where you want to do with your career, these three people got the blueprint. So
absolutely. And when we talk about like major labels, I'm sure that there's been a sea of people who have been here who have worked with some of our favorites, but coming to this stage, I'm talking Kanye West, I'm talking Lil Durk, I'm talking Rod Wave, I'm talking 21 Savage, I'm talking Bia, et cetera, et cetera. Like, these are people that we stream every day, and these are the magic minds behind their greatness that really facilitate and strategize what they do so that they can perform at its highest potential. So without further ado, I would like to introduce to the stage the president of Epic Records, Ezekiel Lewis.
Brother Zeke in the building.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I wanna bring out a longtime friend of mine. We came up through the ranks together. When I'm talking about the most prolific female executive of our generation right now, the COO of Alamo Records, my good friend, my Aquarian sister, Miss Juliette Jones.
The GOAT himself, the man behind It's Your Time. The list goes on and on when it comes to his accolades. He is an impactful man. He is the man. His name is Benny Pugh. So I want to get right into it because I feel like a lot of people here, they want to hear the perspectives of people who have been in this industry and really shifting the culture. But in order for you to be in this seat, you had a long journey of just discovering yourself and figuring out where you are strong suited at. So just bring us to the beginning of like your start and your introduction into the business.
I mean, ladies first, right?
How much time do we have? It's really long. I'm kidding. I think what's most important for me about my story is that I interned for 5 years, which I think to you guys probably sounds like 200 years, but it wasn't. It was a little unusual at that time, but not as unusual as it would be today. And that afforded me the opportunity to try almost every job. I was like doing club promotion, I was a stylist for a while, a little publicity, booking BET, which was in DC where I lived. I tried some marketing, some A&R. So by the time I interned in radio, so by the time I landed on doing promotion, which is sort of my specialty that I did for the majority of my career, I was very confident that it was the right fit for me. It didn't hurt that the two highest paid jobs in the label at that time were A&R and promotion, so that definitely was a big catalyst for me liking it so much.
Me? My turn?
Zeke, your turn.
I started as a songwriter. So as a teenager, I worked with an artist who would become Pink, and moved on from there to Luther Vandross, helped develop Trey Songz, started a company called The Clutch, and we worked with everyone from Sierra to Mary J. Blige to Justin Bieber and Britney Spears and many more. And then I became an executive in 2011. And I figured out what the thing that kept me in the industry and kept me excited about the industry was the whole nothing to something factors. As a songwriter, you go into a room, it's a quiet room. You come out with something that people are talking about, people are clamoring over, or giving people a conversation piece. And so now it's developing and signing artists and taking them from nothing to something. And so that's my driving force.
Thank you, both of you guys. I'm big fans of both you, Juliette, and Zeke, and your accomplishments, so definitely want to take a minute and recognize you guys. I think what people don't realize is what it takes to maintain being in the music business. It's not by chance, right? Like, you don't last as long as people like the two of them and not have talent and skill. And how you start isn't always how you finish, but what's most important is realizing, as we heard during the course of the day, it's all about the work. So when you look at the two of these people that are still, in the business and thriving, that there's a lot of talent that's involved. So I want to definitely recognize you guys and say thank you. My journey in the business is random. I actually had no aspirations. I used to do stand-up when I was in college, but I think I'm supposed to talk about that tomorrow, so I'm not going to spoil the entry point. But I think what it shows you, though, is that you never know your course of action and what your direction if you're just open-minded to move forward. So 30 years in the business, super excited, and I think what the theme of what we've been hearing today is pivot, right? And even like in the creative end, what Zeke was speaking on his journey, when you go in the studio, you don't know if you're going to come out with a hit, right? You just got to go in and give your best. And when you get into the music business, you don't know if you're going to move through to where you're going to get. You just got to put the work forward. So I've been working hard at this and also looking at how to pivot. So I'm super excited on where I'm at and spending time with you guys.
Thank you. Great answers. Zeke and Juliette, question. How much does it usually take to market and promote an established artist versus a new artist? We got a bunch of new artists in the building. And the second part of that question is, what can a major label provide for these independent artists that they can't do for themselves?
The first question, you said, how much does it take?
Yeah, roughly.
Well, I mean, obviously it's not a one-size-fits-all situation. But one thing I will say about an established artist is that the price point definitely goes up, right? Because the standards are raised based on that level of success. But it's not a one-size-fits-all approach. It just depends on the nature of the artist. what the marketing campaign is. Obviously, it probably costs less to market a newer artist in the beginning, and depending on the situation. Because like I said, the price point goes up, but it just depends on what the marketing plan is and how you want to approach the project, to be honest. It's kind of like not an answer that would really qualify, you know.
Gotcha. And then, Juliette, I guess you can expound on this, but, you know, what do you think a major label can do for an independent artist that they can't do for themselves in this new economy that we're living in?
I think what's really interesting about where the music business is going is that companies are shifting to provide the services that the artist needs, because again, it's not a one size fits all. Most people today are getting some momentum from the internet and in their local markets. And so you may have a great team that you've got a digital marketer already that's doing an extraordinary job for you, or you may have a really great creative team that's making great music, or a producer that you've been working with that kind of got you your breakout hit that gets you into the meeting with the major. And so I think for me personally, if I was an artist, an up and coming artist, looking to sign with the major, the first thing I would say is you want to play with somebody else's money. Let them pay for the videos and let them bet on your career now that you've shown and proved enough that it feels like a good bet to them.
Great answer.
Azim, can I dig a little deeper though?
Absolutely.
Because, you know, if Juliette and I are working on something, let's say I'm the artist and she's the manager, obviously there's you know, a distance that we can take it, right? But obviously if I can get everyone on this panel on the same page that Juliette and I are on, if we're of one mind, it has to be better, right? Because all of us are of the same vision. So I think in that sense, if you find people with that chemistry at a label that want to take you to the next level, and everybody is of the same mind, no one's distracted, we're all passionate about the same thing, it has to be better than just the small team you're coming in the door with. So that's my answer to that.
And then, Benny, you have a unique perspective on this as well, I'm sure.
Well, having worked at a major label for the majority of my career and now being independent, it's a really interesting paradigm, right? Because on the outside, people ask you how much, because they really don't know what it takes. And as Zeke said, there is no number. There's no one size fits all. It's really how much you're willing to invest and bet on yourself, right? Because the independent artists that I've dealt with, it's been tricky on trying to educate people. It's not about the money, right? It's a lot of things that you have to do before you get to the money. And I think what the expectation becomes in going into labels is that people believe that, you know, like there's a magic button and all the money that you throw is gonna make a difference in your art. It really comes down to your commitment, right? How resourceful you are, and actually building the momentum yourself, right? You can't walk inside and have expectations like there's a magic wand that's gonna make you that star because you feel like the bank is just gonna keep paying, as you said. But on the independent level, obviously you have to be smarter. I think like what Dave was saying on the panel earlier, you just have to be smarter. You move differently because it's your resource. And now you have to really do like a real litmus check on where you are in your spend and how valuable each dollar is that you put out.
Can I expound on that just a little bit? I think even our answers speak to also the nature of Zeke obviously works at Epic, Alamo, and our sister company, Santa Ana. Santa Ana was created at the beginning of last year with the intent that we think there's such great talent that we wanted to partner with not just tremendous artists, but if they have an extraordinary team, we want to bring them in too. But there is a lot of mentoring that we do around that, helping them to understand how to run a business. And there's definitely rooms and doors and conversations that we can get you in that you probably can't get yourself in. But we have, you know, a label with Barreline who does a lot of great groundbreaking stuff on her own. And we're really enhancing what she's doing. And we've got a bunch of other, you know, partners in Santa Ana. And I think that it's also about, like I said, it speaks to what you need, because some people have really big strengths in certain areas and need a lot of help. And even if you get yourself to a certain level, the mentoring and the access and the experience can definitely help take you to the next level.
I want to piggyback off of that because I think joint ventures are something that is a very interesting concept, especially now. There's a lot of people who want to explore that versatility and that range that they have to be a building executive. Like, what exactly is a joint venture, and what is the relationship and difference between that and just having a deal with a major label?
I mean, that's probably a whole panel in and of itself, but basically it's we partner with the label. Everything is negotiable. It's extraordinary the broad range of deals that you can do today, but you retain some ownership. But I just want to say that everyone, oftentimes this probably happens to Zeke because this is more his area of expertise in the A&R space, but a lot of people come in and say, I want a joint venture because, it's a popular thing for artists to say, oh, you own your masters, but everyone is not set up to get a joint venture. You don't have the team and you don't have the expertise and you need more help than that. Because when you get a joint venture, if we're 50-50 partners, say, then I expect you to do the work. I don't expect you to just be the artist and expect us to pay 100% of the expenses and do 100% of the work, but you want to have 50% of the ownership at the end of the day. And so depending on the nature of your deal, a joint venture is a great opportunity if you're set up to do that. If you're not, it's maybe not the right deal for you. It sounds great on the surface, but when you start getting into it, if you are a partner, that requires a lot more work on your behalf, aside from just being the artist. But I do think with how the internet has changed and so many people are getting an opportunity to become artists without going through the old model of sort of just gatekeepers, you can get to a certain level. There's a lot of artists do come in with a level of expertise or a level of success under their belt that when I began in this business was a lot harder to achieve. But again, I just want to say, try to be honest with yourself when you go in the meeting and be open to what people have to say, because most people are actually not prepared to have a joint venture and do what it takes to make that a success.
Well, question, how many people in the audience are here because they're an aspiring artist? And then how many are here because they're an aspiring executive or business person? Okay, so it's a pretty equal split. Yeah, I mean, a joint venture is essentially, for those that don't, it's a partnership, like you said. So the dynamic and the specifics of that are all negotiable. But like Juliette said, it comes down to the value that the parties bring to the table. Whether or not it's an equal split of value, or whether or not the heavy lifting on the marketing and development side is going to be done by the label. Obviously, if you come in an audience, like Juliette said, then we're negotiating from a different vantage point, different leverage point. So other than that, just a basic, simple explanation is that the joint venture is a partnership.
What challenges have you faced with artist development? I feel like there's always been phases of reinvention from the start of 21 Savage's career to where he is now. Where does the vulnerability, for lack of a better word, step in as someone who is leading that development into the shape that they're in now?
Challenges. I think everyone on the panel would agree. The landscape is more challenging than ever because there's so much more music coming out because there are no longer any gatekeepers, so to speak, right? Everyone in here can get their music out and put it on a platform where the world can't access it. Now, whether or not the world sees it or how much of the world sees it comes down to the marketing, right? And then also, outside of the money piece that Benny brought up, because no amount of money can really make you cut through. It can just, buy you more ads, and I guess you could, promote your record at radio longer and longer, but in the same sense, if it doesn't stick, it won't stick, right? At the end of the day, it's about finding those touch points and those tentpole moments to actually cut through to the consumer. So for the 21 Savage project you just brought up, which we just dropped last night or today, what seemed to be really impactful there was this baby picture campaign where he revealed the features of the album by putting their baby pictures up. And so that kind of caught, and all of us started putting our baby pictures up, and other people on the web put their baby pictures up. So it's all about finding those moments to really cut through in a market that's really saturated and there's a lot of music. And that's where the brain trust of the label and your partner comes in to help you come up with those ideas.
Great answer, thank you guys. Question, Juliette, and more with Benny and Zeke specifically, because you guys are both presidents of signed artists. Is there a magic bullet to getting a record deal?
A magic bullet?
Yeah, like, is there one button, or more, I guess, succinctly, can you describe the process of signing an act?
I think probably a better question for this audience is, and what people have asked, is how do I get a deal? Like, nobody knows in the independent space that are still interested in pursuing record deals, how do I truly get a deal? What are the caveats? What are the things that traditional labels and hybrid situations, what do you guys look for now in signings? And how many signings do you look to do per year if there's a quantifiable amount?
There's no amount, no quantifiable amount to answer that point, Benny. And for me, what I look for might be different than what Juliette looks for, what Benny looks for, Zine, anybody else. For me, the talent needs to line up with my instinct and soul. And it's not, obviously there's the analytic piece, which we can all talk about, and that can inform a decision, but I don't think it should dictate a decision. And if we were going on analytics, then at Epic Records, we never would have signed Giveon or Tyler or any of that stuff. So I feel like you have to have instinct, you have to have conviction. And since I come from the A&R space, I'm kind of built for going through what I call the dark periods, which is the period when it's not hot. When you're developing it and nobody really believes in it, you gotta still, day by day, put one foot in front of the other and keep the train on the track until you get to the point of having like water for Tyler. But that's 2 years in the making. So it takes a lot of conviction, a lot of passion, a lot of faith. And so for me, it's all about that. I have to believe in it enough to go through those dark days, and if I don't, then I won't touch it.
Juliette?
I mean, I think that Zeke gave a really succinct answer, right? And I think it's also finding the right opportunity at the right time with the right people. Because many artists take 10 meetings, and it may be the 10th person that really gets it, like Zeke said, just has an instinct for it, and it touches them in a way that they have a vision and they can see where this can go. Because no matter how great the artist is, that dark time exists for everybody. It's going to be a process of finding your way and finding your sound and even finding your look and even finding your fan base. But the thing I love about the internet today, there's a lot of things I don't love about it, but what I love about it is that I think it gives every artist an opportunity to find your audience and for them to find you on a global platform where before you really had to kind of work on your block and then in your neighborhood and then through your city. There's a lot bigger pond to fish in to find the people that are your people. But it's gonna be different for each company and each A&R person, what they're looking for at that moment. And oftentimes, different labels might be looking for a specific kind of an artist because they feel like they have a bunch of women or a bunch of rock or a bunch of hip hop or whatever their thing is at the moment that they're interested in creatively engaging with. Changes.
I have a two-part question. What are the key factors that stand out to you when you're on the search for talent? And the other part, which I think this audience would really appreciate, is I'm sure you guys get approached a lot with, sign me, listen to my music, woo, woo, woo. What do you feel helps break through that noise when an artist is taking initiative to reach out to an executive like yourself and getting that time?
Okay, what was the first part again?
The first question is, what are the key factors that stand out when you are looking for new talent?
I mean, I think something that's really key in this marketplace, because the barrier entry has gotten so low, there's a lot of noise and chatter going on, a lot of music out there that you can engage with, but when you're looking to sign someone and bring them into your label, you want them to have that sort of Q factor, some sort of star power, something special about them that you connect to. And a lot of times it's really authenticity, the believability. You believe that they are who they purport to be as an artist. If I'm watching it, if I'm engaging with it. And for me, one of my pet peeves has always been, if you tell me you're an artist and I go look at your social media and there's no music. You look like a star in every picture, but I can't hear any of your work. That tells me a lot about what kind of artist you want to be. And so I think that's really important.
That was great.
I mean, I think there's everybody has different tastes, and there's a place for different things in the marketplace for sure, but for me, I look for, and when you talk about a factor, I look for a person who like shifts the energy in the room. So a person comes in a room and the energy changes, that's a sure sign for me, like that's somebody that's worth exploring, and going deeper with for sure.
For me, it's been an interesting journey of both using other people's money to sign artists and signing people with my money. So it becomes really different. It becomes really different, and you hedge your bets. And no different on being on the inside versus the outside. You can't sign everything, but whatever you put your money down on, you have to believe. Win, lose, or draw. When it's your dough, you just can't keep betting. So think back.
Benny, are you saying you're more selective now that you're using your money? Is that?
I've always been selective, Zeke. But I'm really selective now.
Really, man.
That's all. But I think what's really important is establishing kind of adding to both of their comments on how they actually approach it. This for me is a good sifter, right? The It's Your Time conference, when you ask the question, look how many independent artists, right? They have nowhere to go and perform and for us to see them, right? So thank you guys for coming there, because some artists, there are different buckets, right? There's the commercial artists that, they stream in there like crazy, you make a decision on. There are the artistic artists that you go, you know what, I'm gonna hedge my bet and I'm gonna believe in this, but I'm not gonna spend as much as the beginning. And then there's that hybrid of both. And being in this position, it has to be magical, I think was your word that you said. So I think in signing any artist in either of our positions, it's always gonna have to be magical, and it starts with the artist investing in themselves, right? If you're not investing in yourself, you can't ask anybody to invest in you.
1,000%. I think that's an important takeaway for these artists. I feel like a lot of people prematurely reach out looking for opportunity when there's so much more development to do for yourself as an artist. So stay ready so you don't have to get ready. I think, Juliette, you really nailed it, where it's like, I look at these artists and I can't even hear their music, So make sure that your platform represents exactly who you want to be. You want to ask the next question? Because I
thought you had a second
I got
part.
all day.
No, listen.
The second part was more so in the approach, right? But that also piggies back to the preparedness. Like, what is an approach that will make you give that time to whoever reaches out to you that piques interest?
Just be passionate and just be very talented, and and have a high work ethic. We work really hard. I hate super talented, lazy people, because it's almost disrespectful to the gift. You know what I mean? If you're super talented but lazy, is just it's annoying. So be super talented and be determined and match or exceed the efforts of your team is what I would say.
I would say it's the commitment. It's no excuses. I think people actually live in the land of excuses. Like there's an answer that's gonna make it all right. Coming up, you can see the difference between the stars in their talent and their effort. I always tell a story because we all talk about Jay-Z, why he is where he is, and I think people don't. I mean, the folks who know him and the people who've been around him, you see that you would know he would be where he's at because of the ethic, not just as an artist, but also as a business person, which always takes me back to the first time I ever took him on an interview at Power 105. The interview was at 7 o'clock in the morning. I got there at 5:45 because that's what we do, right? We prep for it. He pulled up at 6:15. What artist for a 7 a.m. interview pulls up at 6:15? He's like, nah, I'll wait, right? Then there's the other elements of professionalism, with like Mariah Carey and Lionel Richie. Every holiday they sent you a handwritten note with a gift, right? So if you're at a major label with 100 artists coming through, I mean, let's be honest, we all human, right? Oh, I got something nice from X, you always in consideration, right? And that's not because of anything else other than someone thought of you. So the human factor always matters, right? It's no different than going on a job interview. Do you not follow up with a letter? Do you not just continue to stay in contact? Or is that, I think I'm dope and they're gonna call me, right? Kind of thing. So as an artist, it's equally important to realize if you want something from someone, you gotta always be willing to give.
Show up.
Show up and show
That's
out.
the long story short. Show up, follow up. It's my favorite.
I think it's appropriate because we're at the It's Your Time conference tomorrow. Someone's going to win $10,000 for being an aspiring artist. And we talk about talent being paramount. The term triple threat, singing, songwriter, producer, performer, but being able to do more than one thing. We think about Beyonce, we think about Usher, we think about Taylor Swift. Do you think that those types of artists are prevalent today, or is that era over?
No, that era's not over. And you know what else? I'm not mad at an artist who doesn't write their music if they are an incredible performer. You can focus on one thing and just be absolutely incredible at it, like Whitney Houston was, or so many others. I mean, do one thing and do it masterfully. That's just as valuable as doing three things. I mean, especially if you don't do them all, equally as well.
I like that.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I just want to piggyback on that because you definitely tapped on the pressures of a lot of artists feeling like they have to be the whole team, and some people are just not naturally gifted in that type of field, right? They don't know how to market themselves. All they know how to do is make good music. What advice could you give to kind of break that ground and also develop themselves as a creative and someone who is just musically inclined before the deal comes?
I think we've kind of touched on a lot of things that speak to that throughout the course of this panel. The team, show up for your team. Lil Durk is our artist. Durk was at it for 10 years before he broke, and a lot of that was his tenacious. He believed in himself and he was tenacious and stayed at it. And I think it was about getting the right people around him that were complementary to him as an artist and played to his strengths. And he also is appreciative of the fact that he's not a one-man band. Even though he's a solo artist, he really sees, because he did it so long and he's a really gracious artist, I think because of it, before he had the big success. And he continues to constantly work at his craft and elevate his sound. All My Life was a very different sound for him and ended up being the biggest record of his career to date. And he's still at it. He's still trying new things, and his look has evolved. Everything about him as a person has evolved. And we're always growing and our lives change. I mean, 10 years is a long time. You become someone else in real life, not just as an artist. And I think that if you are respectful of that in your process, you'll have a much better result.
And I think it's important also to be ready so you don't have to get ready. And what does that mean in regards for an independent artist perspective or an artist perspective? If you're starting a career today, you should already see your deal or the accomplishment that you want. And if that's a matter of, if you see yourself somewhere, then you need to have an attorney. If you see yourself somewhere in business, then you need to have an accountant. If you see yourself succeeding, then you need to have a manager, because that's all gonna happen if this is what you believe in. So you shouldn't look for success if you're not prepared for it. It's not lotto, right? This is your heart, blood, sweat, and tears, so you should treat the business as you would treat anything else.
I want to say one. Oh, go ahead, Julie.
You want to get all those people at the right time, though. Not too soon. You kind of build your team as you grow.
Yeah, you brought up a point about an artist not being able to like do all things at once or whatever. So let's say, just for some of the artists out here that are extremely talented, that might not be the most social or might not be the most articulate. If you're not that person, but you make amazing music, get you a manager or somebody to fill that gap that is social, that is articulate, that can express the vision, that speaks your language. The point is to not do everything, but get the people around you that do those things well to fill those gaps and make sure you're a complete puzzle.
1,000. And I also just want to like echo what Juliette said of just being open to reinventing yourself too. Because even the story of Dirk, and that was a recent accolade, like he's been at it for years, but he still keeps his mind open to trying new things. So you can't expect different results doing the same thing sometimes. So it's always that thing where it's like you have to be open to new challenges and opportunities.
Yeah, so there was a panel earlier talking about AI and music, and that's AI is the big buzzword. From your perspective, can you talk about what the future looks like for music creation and consumption specifically with AI technology? Because yesterday there was an article that came out in Music Business Weekly where 152 million tracks got less than 1,000 plays last year, and 46 million of those tracks didn't get one play. So what do you think?
Repeat that stat. Say that again.
152 million tracks released last year got less than 1,000 plays. And 46 million of those tracks didn't get any play. That means you didn't listen to your own record.
Right. Wow, you didn't listen to your own record.
You didn't get one play, right? So what's your, from where you sit, where do you see music consumption going? Because it seems like AI is a tool that everybody's using, but are they using it effectively? Do you guys use it in your discovery process and your mechanism for promoting and marketing music?
Juliette, why are you looking at me? You know what I think? AI is going to be a great tool. We don't know where it's going to go. It's just scratching the surface. Without saying too much, what I will say is it's all about the rights. When digital music or streaming music, first became available via, let's say, Napster, the industry didn't have the rights in place to remunerate for the consumption. But once we got those things right, it became a windfall for the industry. I think the same will apply to AI. If we get the rights piece right, it'll be a great tool to drive, market. It'll be a great tool for songwriters to send in demos with lifelike results in terms of like examples of the songs. It could be a great tool. It's all about the rights. If we get the rights right, then it's all good.
Anybody else?
I mean, I don't want to say too much either because it is so early and we just don't know. And the biggest, I think Zeke touched on the biggest issue for us as a business and for all of you as aspiring artists and executives. Everyone would like to be paid for their work. That means that we have to make sure that the rights are in place in a way that is fair and equitable so that everyone is able to be compensated for the work that they're putting in. And so it's so early and we're still figuring that piece out of what it's gonna look like in a real way and how we can integrate it into the music business. without damaging the artist. You know, nobody wants to spend 25 years becoming Beyonce and now anyone can make a Beyonce record. Like, she put a lot of time and work and effort in there, and of course her voice and likeness is of value because she built it. Someone else shouldn't be able to make a Beyonce record and capitalize off of the work that she's done, or her voice and likeness. So those are the sticky parts of it, but it's also very interesting in that there's a lot of functions that it can do and help people to kind of bridge the gap, as we've been talking about throughout this panel, without a big team of people, but that's in the future.
I would like to talk about the science behind pre-post release. I feel like a lot of independent artists, all they know is what they see, and they don't really understand the work behind the release of 21 Savage's new album and the whole Baby Picture campaign, like how that comes about. Like, what are some gems that you could give to an independent artist when they are trying to market their projects the best way that they can?
Stick to it. Don't give up. I think the long tail on music is more robust than ever. We see records coming back from years ago that were hits at one point, now bigger hits than they were in the beginning. Let's say Miguel's Sure Thing, for example. So I think you stick to it. Understand that things live on the internet forever. And so believe in your vision. Don't give up. Even if it doesn't work initially, keep pushing. You might see it turn around. I think you just stick to your guns.
I also just want to add, like, post-release, when something is officially out, some artists, they give it a week before they stop promoting it. Like, what is like a standard pocket of time to promote something without like overbearing the consumer?
I think I'll say one last thing and then Juliette jump in, but you know when you catch sparks. Something might not become critical mass, it might not become the biggest record in the world, but if you're seeing those points along the way where there's some energy around a release, then you'll know to keep going. If you see absolutely no energy, you also know what to do at that point. You know you could pivot and you could put something else out and you could put your efforts towards something that might be more fruitful.
How many weeks does that take for you to retain that information?
It's going to be different based on genre and artist, right? Like, we do a ton of hip hop that typically moves a little faster than R&B. I think that, and that's even changing. I think that there's a lot of hip hop records that are kind of a discovery 10 months later. But to Zeke's point, if you're one of the 152 million songs that has less than 1,000 plays, you might want to consider pivoting to another song.
And also what's important is, you know, how do you look at monetizing as an artist, right? So that's what's going to give you your runway on what works for you and really what doesn't work for you. If streaming doesn't play a big part because you're a show act and people are going to come because you have a niche audience, then that's cool. You know, you're just getting people hyped. But if critical mass is how you look to operate, then obviously it's going to be a different window on how you're going to move forward is marketing and promotion. So because something doesn't work the first time, but you know the audience are connected sometime, it's hedging your bet. All of this is always about how you're going to hedge your bet. Front loaded, long tail, those are decisions that will be made on how you move forward with an artist.
So you would say it's kind of like instinctual, just based on like the performance of a record.
You can make better decisions now. Like, everything's not just about your instinct. Mm-hmm. You have to use the tools. So AI is valuable, right? And technology is valuable as you make those decisions because it's all about dollars and cents. And once again, people are now making decisions that can put them at risk, right? Because it is about dollars. It is about cents. So it just can't be about gut alone anymore.
Still the music business, right? So question, you know, we have a lot of aspiring artists and executives in the audience and the young people in early career. Is a career in the music business still a real viable option as it was when we came up?
More than ever. I think more than ever, because again, there's no gatekeepers. If I don't sign you, I can't stop you from putting a record out. You can build a business on some level at any point that you decide. So I think it's the opportunity exists period, for everyone who is talented and wants to make music and build a business.
Can we point that more in a corporate direction? Obviously, you guys are insiders, and a lot of chatter and talk going on at the top of the year about a lot of layoffs at major corporations. So would you suggest that aspiring artists and executives specifically set up their own shops, or should they still pursue the corporate dream?
I think that if you're an aspiring artist or an executive, that you have to take the opportunities that are in front of you and be open. And so if that means working at a local trade magazine, a local cable music show, or something bigger or something digital facing, but I think there's more opportunities than ever, but maybe to Zeke's point, but I think that perhaps it won't be in the traditional, I'm gonna get an internship at Sony and then I'm gonna get a job at Sony and move up the ranks in that way. There may be a different way that you come to the business. I started this out by saying I interned for 5 years, so I had a very sort of non-traditional beginning compared to a lot of people myself at a time when the business was booming. So I do think that there's opportunity, but I think people who get very fixated on one specific thing is where the danger comes. If there's an opportunity to work in the business doing something and learn and gain experience and exposure, and you really want to do this, then you should take it.
And I've always been a fan of the 2 Plan A's. Because you're not at a major doesn't make you not a major. Ultimately, no matter what your career goals or aspiration or however you move forward in life, you're gonna always have to do something else. I choose to do something else while I'm still doing something, right? And I think that's really important as wherever you are in your journey, as an executive, you have to know that you have to have an exit plan, right? And some of us get longer cycles than others, but just know that the end is coming, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. There's a lot of benefit, but it's how you control your own destiny. So it's important as independent artists and or executives that you take control of your life, right? You have to build your own foundation. No one can build it for you.
Absolutely. I think that's like in the vein of just like always being open to reinventing yourself. Like Juliette, you have been through many phases in your career. You almost didn't even see yourself in the position that you are in now. Can you just expand on like what that journey was like from intern to COO, and how where in the moment of your career that you saw the vision that you could be in this seat?
The vision for being in this seat was really late in my career. Honestly, when I started, I just wanted to get a job. And then I narrowed that down to a job in promotion. And then once I got into promotion, my goal was to be a national director of promotion. And after that, I was winging it for quite a while. I was kind of the accidental executive, but I loved the work and I was always working hard because I was happy to be doing what I was doing. And I think some people get so caught up on taking the next step that they forget to be great at the opportunity you already have. And for me, I think that a lot of my longevity is because I still love it. I need to work just as hard today, if not harder, as I did in the beginning. And I think that, my first job at Jive Records, I loved it. I'm from Chicago. Our biggest artist was from Chicago. I won't name him here today. But Jive Records, Juliette from Jive had a nice ring to it. Someone actually gave me a plaque that says Juliette from Jive because they didn't know my last name. And I got fired from that job after 9 years. And that was the first real pivot. I ended up going to work at Hits Magazine, which is a music trade. I never wanted to be an editor. I never wanted to write a column. I had zero interest in doing that. But Lionel Ridenhour, who's one of my mentors, said, no matter what you do, just stay in. Whatever opportunity you have, take it. It was a great opportunity because I met a bunch of people in really powerful positions that I had not met by spending 9 years at Jive Records. And that morphed into me coming back onto the record side. And it wasn't until 2013 when I started at Atlantic Records working for Julie Greenwald that I saw a vision of women really running not just the company, not just departments, but the whole company. And of course, I'd seen them from the outside looking in. But being in the room where it happened, so to speak, was incredibly motivational and profound for me. I was so inspired by what she was doing, and in my personal opinion, one of the greatest music executives. And that was the moment where I thought, maybe I could do this. And in 2021, I'd had an amazing run at Atlantic, and they offered me a great job, and I had been doing promotion forever, and I'd been very successful at it, and I still liked it. And it was a global pandemic, and I thought, if I don't sort of bet on myself again and make a decision to step out of this job so that I can step into something else, then I may just do this job forever, which is not horrible. It was a great job. But I quit my job with no other job in 2021. And I sat home for 6 months and let the phone ring. And some really exciting opportunities came my way, and Alamo is the one I picked.
Amazing. Hey, Zeke, I want to ask you this, and I'm going to put you on the spot. As the youngest president, currently the youngest at a major label.
Am I?
Yes. The youngest president. We got, give it to him, y'all. What's your vision for leading your label into the future in terms of hiring executive talent, signing new artists, and just the whole shebang, being a leader?
You know what? I'm looking for people who don't necessarily say the right thing, but have heart and good intention and passion, because I think it's going to take a disruptive kind of passion to turn the corner in the business and to lead us away from, not necessarily away from analytics, because again, I think it's very important to study and to be informed, but to also bring that it factor back, that special factor back, so we can have more conversations about people who are on the level of Prince or have that kind of impact, or the level of Michael Jackson, or the level of whoever is that to you. So I'm looking for disruptive passion. Those are the two words that come to mind to answer your question.
I love it. I love it. Give it up for Zeke again, guys. So we have a lot of questions in the audience. We're going to get to some of these questions where we got microphones over here. The gentleman with his hand in the back, please.
Hi, I go by Lamontre Ham once again. I'm with Grand Imperial Records. This question is for Ms. Jones and Mr. Lewis. Y'all named acts like Lil Durk, Big Sean, Travis Scott. I just wanted to know, with Travis Scott's deal, if I'm not mistaken, he's with Epic and Grand Hustle and Good Music. How do y'all go about the multiple deals that artists now can take on at one time?
Well, he came in the Epic door. I wasn't at Epic at the time, but I am good friends with T.I., Grand Hustle to that point. He came in the door in a development deal with Grand Hustle. So to her point, her question earlier about joint ventures, that was a joint venture deal between Grand Hustle and Epic. And so an artist can come into the door with any number of developmental production deals or label deals, and people can always strike a deal to partner. So I hope that answers the question, bro. Okay.
Can we? Sorry, brother. We got a lot of people. No disrespect, but we want to get to as many people as possible. Thank you. This young lady right here in the front.
Hello. First, I want to say I'm very blessed to be around such talented individuals, and also you guys as well. Like, this is amazing, and I'm very thankful. And to introduce myself, my name is Vesa Basha. I am majoring in music performance pop tech. And the question I have is in regards of a platform that I just created, and I would like to know from your guys' input, what effective strategies to increase visibility and engagement on my platform, specifically besides just like posting on social media, like how other ways can I get connections to people for my platform in real life?
Ivy, that's your specialty, lifestyle specialist. Come on.
I think you use your army. You know, all the friends that you have, the people that really believe in you, is word of mouth. You know, it's very important to touch the people and talk about your platform. If you believe in it that much, you should be the one person waving that flag before anybody, right? Like when it comes to lifestyle, just to break it down, like you want to be the person that people look at, that they want to be a part of, you know, whether it's a brand, what does it look like, what does it smell like, what is your routine, what does implementing your platform into their life make a difference as? When you can point out those things and implement it into your daily life, then that will naturally grow that bandwidth and that curiosity. Is that kind of like helping you in a way? I'm just making sure.
It's just more so like how to get connections with people in real life regarding this platform, since I'm like starting from the beginning, from zero.
Well, it's also just attending places like this, right? And making sure that before you leave this conference, everybody knows about your platform. You know, have you shaken a hand today and introduced yourself in that platform? Have you found a way to have people included? You know what your platform is, but how can they be a part of that community? You know what I'm saying? Provide that conclusion, provide that solve, provide why it is so easy to be a part of what you have going on.
And just to, if you're here tomorrow, we actually have a presentation on that. We created a platform called Diverse Connect. Austin Pugh and Gabe Parker, they actually solved that problem for the creative industry, for the independent artists who are now in this position that you're in, asking those questions. As Avi said, you have to look at it as a very rudimentary perspective. How could we all connect right now is what we solved, right? Now, if you were dropping in London, you'd be able to reach out to people just like this as well. So we have the true organic community that we're gonna grow slowly but surely for all the people who have the value and need those answers solved.
Thank you so much.
So that's tomorrow.
All right, the young lady. Happy anniversary to the Deltas in the building.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Tony Booth-Comer, and hailing from the Atlanta, Georgia area. My question for my artist, Hassani Vibes. We've heard stories of artists and musicians at one time providing either a tape, which is long ago, or doing various things of sending gifts to record labels, and then they would be invited to come and sit and they listen to the music. A question was asked about your process of getting in touch with you, Ms. Jones, or Mr. Lewis. However, working in the corporate world, the one thing you don't do is go straight to the head. But is that allowed in your record label? And what is your process? Do you have, quote unquote, your team, your people listen to different distribution lists? Are you going to various listening parties? Are you going to where sometimes the artists have to pay to get up and perform? What is your process in allowing independent artists or someone else that's being represented by a team to get in front of you or to get in front of your team to possibly be able to sign a contract, get an agreement? What is your standard procedure?
That is a really good question.
Wow.
I don't even know if I really know the answer to that question. Because, it's a good question.
Do I call your secretary? Because one thing with Epic Records or Alamo Records, I'm looking on the web, you're not listed as someone that I can personally call.
Right.
So do you have your marketing director that has a team that sends out that I can personally reach out and call and say, I'm having a listening party, or my artist has a song out or whatever. We're already signed up with a distribution company also.
So Tony, I do have an answer to your question specifically, because although I approached that first answer in a general way, because I felt like you were asking for the world, right? But you have made a good decision because you are here now. And so because you're here, I could give you my secretary's email or contact info that you might be able to set up something with somebody from my team. You know what I mean? But that's also not the case for many people, but for you, because you made the decision to be here, your route has taken you to this point, and because of that, you will have a contact that you can at least make contact with somebody from the team and see if they're interested in what you have.
All right.
It's your time.
And I think, Zeke was very honorable with the answer, right? But let's be clear, right? It's about the effort that goes in. You can Google search. There's actually a service, I'll find out and give you guys later. You can find out anybody on the planet Earth, their email, their phone number, all of the information is public. So once again, if we're gonna go back to how bad you want it, is how much work you're gonna put in. We know back in the day is no different than today now. Show up at the building. If you need it, just depends on how serious you are. You know where he works, right? You can go downstairs. What's old is still new again, right? So I think the level of effort for those, that's what's gonna separate you. You can't stop with, I don't know. I can't, that means nothing. So the ones who want it are gonna push through and stretch through the pain and the hurt.
Thank you, Benny. Thank you, Zeke. Gentleman in the white hat here.
This is our last question, yeah?
Ray,
First
make it
of
good.
all,
It's the last one.
I'd like to say I love all of you. It's been a great experience here, and I wanted to give you a CD, if that would be okay.
I love your cowboy hat.
Yeah, you got it, buddy. And these are new songs that I have written. But I want to do it in honor of my grandmother who raised me from the time I was 2 years old on up. And when she did, I wanted to somehow maybe one day repay her back. And one Christmas Eve, they gave me a little Sears and Roebuck guitar, and that's how this all started. And I just want to give a little praise to her today.
Wow. All right. You give it to the gentleman right there. We got the microphone from. We'll get it. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you guys for your attention. But more importantly, let's give it up for Ms. Ivy Rivera.
Thank you.
Mr. Ezekiel Lewis. Ms. Juliette Jones. And the gentleman who's here giving you your time, Mr. Benny Hugh. Thank you.